What's so special about this year's Oscars?
Oscar.
Will the same two actresses win in different categories? 4 out of 5 best songs will be performed by the original artists.
Oscar.
Will one of the most popular film directors finally take home the Oscar? Find out on Oscar Night, live 2 weeks from tonight.
I have followed the royals since I was 9 years old, and I used to buy paper dolls with Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. I mean, I have followed these people all my life. I mean, this little dysfunctional family I wouldn't miss for anything in the world.
Most of us gave up believing in fairy tales a long time ago, but that doesn't mean we still don't wish they could come true. For a while, the love story of Charles and Di seemed like the stuff of storybooks.
But little by little, the signs were there of a romance on the rocks. You didn't want to believe it, but you did want to know absolutely everything.
One of People magazine's royal watchers, Michelle Green, takes us to London to revisit the scenes of the key events in the saga of Charles and Di.
Our story begins at number 60 Coleherne Court, in the comparatively modest flat where Lady Diana Spencer was living in July of 1980. A fresh-faced, virginal sort from the country, she'd known Prince Charles since she was a child, but she'd prompted him to take a second look when the two met at a post-polo barbecue given by friends in the country.
I remember very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was. And having great fun, and bouncy and full of life and everything. And I don't know what you thought of me. It was
Pretty amazing.
Lady Diana Spencer was a virgin when she married. She was a very innocent young girl. Even her former school teacher said that at her age, she was very innocent for her age.
She certainly wasn't a virgin. She had a string of lovers before she was married, as did every other single girl in the 1970s who wasn't aged 11 and didn't look like she'd been run over by a truck.
After learning about the royal love affair, Fleet Street reporters began to trail Diana. They camped outside her door, and she could no longer make a move without them.
She certainly realized early on that she would never hook her fish without the help of the press.
Prince Charles was in his early 30s. He was under intense pressure from the Queen and his father, Prince Philip, to marry. He was also under intense pressure from the media to marry.
But she certainly manipulated the press and allowed them to manipulate her to her advantage.
Oh, Cameron! We want Di! We want Di! But the girl on Charles's mind wasn't Diana. It was Camilla Parker Bowles, a married socialite who had been his confidant for years.
During the engagement period, Diana was in a whirl of emotion. She was thinking about the wedding dress, all the arrangements. When she walked into the Buckingham Palace office one day and discovered a bracelet that Prince Charles intended to give to Camilla. It was inscribed F&G, Fred and Gladys, the two nicknames that they used for each other. She was so suspicious of Charles's relationship with Camilla. She spoke to her sisters about it. They said to her, "Too late, Dutch," which is their nickname for her. "Your face is on the tea towels now, so it's too late to chicken out."
750 million people watched the wedding of the century.
She was filled with confused emotions as she walked down the aisle of St. Paul's Cathedral to marry Prince Charles. There was hope brimming in her heart. There was love shining in her eyes. But also, there was suspicion of his relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles.
All of this nonsense about Charles having an affair with Camilla, it couldn't be more nonsensical.
This was a honeymoon from hell. Diana was being sick 3, sometimes 4, 5 times a day with bulimia nervosa, this crippling eating disorder which affected her for the best part of her marriage.
Put yourself in Charles's shoes. You marry one person and you wake up to another. You discover that your wife has a terrible mental and emotional problem, because that's what bulimia is. He didn't realize he was going to get someone who always shrieked and ranted and raved, and if that didn't work, would cry.
It's all very well saying that Diana was hysterical. She's not. She's a very strong-willed woman.
Princess Di Diana always had a mind of her own, and when she found out she was pregnant in December of 1981, she decided that she was going to be the one royal in history to give birth in a hospital.
When Prince William was born, Charles was delighted. He had the heir that he always wanted. Diana, too, was delighted, and she'd also moved into a new home, Kensington Palace. And, of course, that was a time of great joy for both of them.
As Diana discovered, life at the palace could be pretty dull. She was thrilled when Prince Andrew fell in love with Sarah Ferguson. A high-spirited sort, Sarah encouraged the restless Diana to misbehave. On the eve of the Yorks' wedding, the two disguised themselves as policewomen and turned up at Annabelle's, a posh club where young aristocrats collect. The prank made the London papers, and the Queen was not amused.
Congratulate the Princess Diana, who has issued forth with a second child. It is a boy.
By the time that Harry was born, Charles had had enough of Diana. He'd had enough of her scenes and her dramatics and her histrionics.
Charles desperately wanted a girl, and when he saw that it was a boy, and also the boy had rusty-coloured hair, Charles said to Diana, "Oh, it's a boy, and he's got red hair," and off he went.
The two soon began spending most of their time apart. While he retreated to his country home, she shopped in London. When they were together at Kensington Palace, there were tears and fierce fights. After one particularly bad bout, Diana locked herself in the bathroom, sobbing. It was Prince William who came to his mother's aid. Pushing tissues under the door, he told her, "I hate to see you sad, Mummy." When Andrew Martin's biography appeared in 1992, it made headlines with reports about Diana's alleged suicide attempts.
Her first suicide attempt was when she threw herself downstairs when she was pregnant with Prince William. There were several others where she slashed herself with a lemon slicer, slashed herself with a penknife, threw herself against a glass cabinet.
By the way, how do you commit suicide? By peeling yourself to death with a lemon slicer? You know, or how do you kill yourself? By hurling yourself at a display cabinet? I mean, this lack of sincerity is so obvious. You don't even hurl yourself into it. You just hurl yourself at it.
Diana was dogged by more scandal in the winter of 1993, when a tape of her phone chat with pal James Gilby, whose pet name for her was Squidgy, was splashed across the pages of the London tabloids.
It's just so difficult, so complicated. It makes my life real torture, I've decided.
And I don't condemn her for having sought and achieved satisfaction from a variety of men. What I condemn her for is being so hypocritical about it and lying through her back teeth to discredit him while she emerges smelling like a rose.
The significant thing about the Squidgy tape that is convincing is the fact that it shows a rather pathetic woman who was just desperately glad of the attentions of somebody else. Whether they were physically involved, no one knows. Most people think not.
I don't want to get pregnant.
Darling, it's not going to happen. All right?
Yeah.
Don't think like that. It's not going to happen, darling. You won't get pregnant.
She was worried about getting pregnant, and she wasn't worried about getting pregnant from Charles because, as she said, he's dead from the waist down. That's what she said.
Unhappy and depressed, Diana insisted on ending her empty marriage. The formal separation came at the end of 1992, and it set off shockwaves.
It is announced from Buckingham Palace that, with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate.
If I was to say who is responsible for the downfall of this fairy tale marriage, I would pinpoint one culprit: the system. Prince Charles was a victim of his upbringing. Diana was a victim of hers.
She got what she wanted, and at what price? The price that the royal family